I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 24, episode number 13. Last time out, we, for the first time since the beginning of the season, started investing in facilities once again. Just a single upgrade. But now we're sitting on more cash. It's been piling up for us. It's definitely going the right direction this year. 3.6 million for our sponsor plan. And of course, we still have a pretty healthy cushion, and it only took 3 interactions to make it happen. We'll be setting up our new plan here in a moment, but I think we can start easing off on that cushion a little bit as we are entering the later portion of the season. For this next period, we're going to again have a nice healthy cushion and just 3 engagement activities. We also have a mandatory activity that will pay 1.1 million. After a recent design project finished for the underfloor, we did have to begin manufacturing new underfloors, 5 of them, costing us a couple $1 million, bringing us back down to 16 million, offsetting some of what we just spent and made out of the sponsors. Our last side pod of that project is going to be done, but we also have a front wing coming in the next couple of days. So turn of the month, we can spend a little bit on facilities right now. One more upgrade on facilities as we head into the summer break, by the way, but we don't want to spend too much here. Right now, the hospitality area is actively getting upgraded, but the boardroom and the memorabilia room are the other 2 that we would like to do something with in the near future here. The boardroom, I think, is probably the next one you'd want, especially for barely 1 million. The race confidence gain is important as we are struggling as a back marker, and yet the team has fairly lofty expectations. Our latest driver development update, Vinter gains 1 in cornering, 1 in smoothness, 1 in adaptability, 1 in defending, and 1 in reactions, where Otakoven plus 1 in adaptability, 1 in overtaking, 2 in defending, 1 in reactions, and 1 in accuracy. Summer break's a great opportunity to get some improvement out of the pit crew, because in the game anyway, there is no summer break. Yeah, just keep right on trucking along. And so we're looking at gaining +3s and 4s to all of the pit crew attributes, a full +1 on the car building. That's 4 sessions. That's still only a +1, amazingly. That's an awfully slow gain. It is about 1.5 points, but still awfully slow. By the end of the month, we're looking at bringing our chance of mistake down by 1%, down to 10%. We're all looking at the estimated pit stop time coming down to a 2.67, and the car building actually by the end just 1% gain. So yeah, 57. Tersu has agreed to her new contract, so that's 2 staff members complete on that task. Watanabe also agreeing to her contract, so overall as a group, what were we, like nearly 2 million, about 1.8 1.9 million, something along those lines, saved for the staff contracts for next season. We're going to be coming out of this summer break, we still have 1 week left, with multiple new components, and I'm getting excited about the direction we're headed. Chassis, we're still on just chassis number 2. That might be our next development upgrade on the way here fairly soon when we enter the new period. So chassis number 2, but front wing is now on number 3, and that's a new component. Rear wing number 3, we had just gotten that one on, I think, before the last race. Side pod number 2, that one also just recently added to the car, and we are now on underfloor number 3. So new front wing and new underfloor for Zandvoort. Suspension number 1, and it will be number 1 all season long. So that's one area where we're not going to get the improvement. But let's go ahead and look at, see what the overall car is looking like. The total extra weight is number 1. The engine cooling is still last. Top speed is still very much down there. We don't have a lot of speed, but we're not as far behind everybody as we were, and we are definitely starting to corner better. Still back into the grid, but out of 22 cars to be 17th, 14th, 13th, and 17th is a huge step up from last. Car part details, though. The chassis is 18th or 20th. The front wing, 17th, 16th, 13th. Good on tire preservation for the front wing. Rear wing, 13th. Drag reduction, I've I've focused pretty heavily on that this season. 51% for that rear wing, and pretty good for the impact on the downforce. Side pods, number 2, still last place. Wow. 34% did not make much of a difference on that one. Okay. Looks like we're going to need another side pod upgrade here pretty soon. So maybe chassis and side pod are where we go with the next ones. Third iteration for everything, right? Underfloor? Wow, even on the third one is still last place. And underfloor is where you get some of the largest gains. In that case, I think I might be going with chassis and underfloor, because the side pod gains, like the suspension, are pretty marginal with our current factory setup or facility setup. So the chassis and underfloor seem to potentially have a better return for us. And the underfloor, even though we've made such drastic improvement to the underfloor, it's still the weakest one on the grid and seems an easy path, like the rear wing. The way that the rear wing has improved rapidly for us and the front wing has improved, the underfloor is the other one that has seen rapid improvement, but it's still at the back. So it seems like there's a lot to be gained from another underfloor upgrade in the near future. Overall, still the slowest car. But getting closer and closer to that competitive level. We still have 2 weeks until the next ATR period, and instead of waiting that time, I'm going to go ahead and knock out immediately our third suspension research project, which with the 2.2, 2.2, and a 2.15 will ultimately not only make up for the 5% loss reduction, but now get us into a positive gain in the suspension for next year without putting a single hour into it. 3 minor projects. The bigger thing, obviously, though, is the cost. That's now $3 million to make that happen. But considering we can't really even get anything out of the suspension anyway right now, this works for me. And it'll take a week longer than what we have. I think once I get to the ATR period opening, I'll probably just drop this down to 1 engineer at that stage, slow it down, and let the 5 go to work on 2 other projects. Love to see this. We're going to not only stop paying, but we are going to receive money for our 2 affiliate drivers that we don't need to have. So Ibrahim is going to Ferrari and Hubert is going to Ferrari. They've both been poached by Ferrari. Thank you for the free cash, Ferrari, and saving us the money of having to pay these guys something. Zandvoort Verstappen remains near perfect on the season here with another win and fastest lap. Piastri gets second with Norris third, Leclerc and Perez. We have the RB of Ricciardo making it in ahead of Russell for the final points paying position. Vinter gets 15th in this one. Oedekoven gets 17th, each 2 laps down. We beat both Haas and Kick Sauber this time. In fact, we were just 1 position away from beating Albon and beating the Williams team as well for an excellent result. Even though we didn't get that, that's still an excellent result. That is a 9th place for the race, and that's definitely going to help make the board happier. That, of course, also involved vetting 2 new components onto the car this time, and that's absolutely a factor in the performance being good but not great. And I could see us squeezing a point out here at some point. I could see Oedekoven in particular just snatching 1 point in one of these races. 4 2.8s when we're supposed to be getting high 2.6s. A little frustrating. We saw that in that previous race too. We had that 1 2.5. We had 1 faster than expected pit stop at Spa when we did the last live race, but we had 3 2.8s or 2.9s even, I think it was. Our pit crew seems to be below average more often than not. And suddenly, with the absence of the former 2 affiliate drivers, our new and finally first and current and only affiliate driver who fits the pool, fits the mold of what we're looking for with this challenge. Jacobson is now 65 overall. Watanabe now a 74 overall as technical chief. Definitely not a great rating, but we'll take what we can get. Monza, round 16 behind us. Verstappen, again, no difference from all these other races. Tsunoda getting the last point, and it's no surprise that we're not going to get a point here. In fact, this has got to be one of our weakest races because the current iteration of cars, we're starting to move up in cornering, but definitely not in speed. Yes, we've closed the gap, but we are still the slowest car. This is the track where that matters the most. It's the fastest race. It's the foot down on the pedal way more, and then a few tight chicanes where, okay, fine, we can get a little time back, but our raw pace is slow. So my expectation is we're probably going to be down the grid order a bit on this one. Ocon, Albon... Vinter gets 14th. That's a solid result. And Odakoven gets 17th. We beat Kicksauber. We beat Haas in this race. Another 9th place finish. Another 9th place finish for us. Sweet. Alonso, Gasly, and Zhou Guanyu with the DNFs in this one. Drivers' Championship. Odakoven is still 19th. Vinter is still 21st. And there are still the final 8 drivers on the grid have yet to score any points this season. Still last in the constructors, though. It's going to take something higher than a 13th to move up off that bottom spot, but recent results should be making the board a bit happier. Hopefully the confidence is not low. Let's check in on that. Before checking in there, following the race, Vinter has leveled up to an 83. Suppose it is time we start paying at least a little bit of attention to Jacobson, because if one of our 2 primary drivers gets poached away, she is the one to take the seat, because we have the challenge. I'm not going to take a male driver into either of the race seats, so we would have to go to Jacobson as a secondary option. So her cornering is just a 66, but she does get a +1 to braking now, 71, control 67, smoothness 64, adaptability is 61, overtaking and defending very poor, but her reactions are fairly good in the control and the braking. Like, she could handle the race seat without causing us too many crashes too often. Accuracy just a 60, but as a 65 overall, she would be very slow compared to whichever one of the 2 drivers she would be replacing and then going head to head with. But in our regular driver development update, it's +1 to cornering for Vinter, +1 to accuracy. Quiet month here, maybe because of the time off, the summer break. Smoothness and accuracy +1s. Board confidence is still low because we are 11th. But they are satisfied with the finances, no debt at any time. The objectives overall, they are satisfied, but that's where we have the low confidence. But the race performance is now satisfied, so that's a big difference. And looking at that, there's only been 4 races since Imola where we have finished 11th. We've finished 10th 3 times, and we've now finished 9th 3 times, including 2 in a row. I would think if that trend continues, like 4 of the last 5 being at least satisfied, if we can get that 9th consistently, I could see them turning out to be fairly happy, and that offsetting the fact that we're below target and getting us back to neutral. But either way, we're nowhere near being in a scenario where we are in danger of losing our job. Last year at this time, they had already lost confidence in us. I'm going to try something a little different, something I haven't done before. Madeline Brun, one of our race engineers, they each had 2-year deals. We're still in the first year. There's a year plus left on their contracts, and the drivers for that matter. What I'm going to try is to sign a long-term deal starting for next season, but that does mean there's a buyout, right? We've got to buy out the last year of the contract. $400K, that's including the bonus of $50K, but a huge breakout multiplier, 3 extra years on the deal, and salary that's over $100K less than what they're making on a yearly basis. Overall, What are we saving? Well, not really much, right? On this one, it's about the longevity and about stopping others from poaching. So for the next chassis upgrade, I'm going to shed just a little bit more weight. It's late season. I don't need a longer lifespan anyway. That'll all reset into next year. We're going to gain 5.5% with half of our hours being used for a 1/4 kilometer an hour and a huge high speed cornering gain for this one, and small gains in other areas. As I mentioned, I'm going to do underfloor for the other upgrade. This one I'm not going to cut down on the lifespan. It's pretty short already, and underfloors are pretty expensive. But 7.5% gains, drag reduction, airflow sensitivity, and pretty solid gains in the downforce department. That's going to add up to more than 1/100th across the board, and top speed of more than 1/10. Another big cash injection through engagement for sponsors, 3.6 million, and we had a mandatory one this time, 1.1 million on top of it. Late season, I can get more picky with what we do, and the engagement activities weren't great options. They were going to lower the driver performance ratings. In particular, our cushion is definitely getting smaller, but like I said, it's late season, so we should still be able to easily get our maximum finances out of this one. It's going to cost us $1 million, but the design center is going to get a 50% boost for the next 45 days. Verstappen finally drops a point, but only one. Leclerc gets the fastest lap here in Baku. That's 17 rounds in the books. One more will be 3/4 of the way through the season. The usual suspects, which actually it's the first time in a while they have finished together in the top 10, but they do finish together this time. 9 on the lead lap. Russell 1 lap down. Odekoven, a new best for us, 12th place finish with Venter in 15th. That's got to beat some teams today, right? It's this whole page behind us. So we beat RB. We beat Williams. We beat Kick Sauber. We beat Alpine. First time ever we have beaten 4 teams. We do not beat Haas, though, amazingly. That's Hulkenberg. Another 11th place finish for him. But this is our highest constructors finish, our highest individual finish. So how does this impact things? Obviously, the board is going to be happy. Both of them just 1 lap down. In terms of lap times, Odekoven 147.8, matching Hulkenberg. Well off pace, though, of Russell. Off pace of Ricardo, but somehow we beat him. But then, 148s, 149s for these guys, so much, much faster than them. We were comfortably up the order here. Verstappen crushing the Drivers' Championship. Absolutely no surprise about that. Huge lead. He will win the Drivers' Championship before too long. It's Norris, though, ahead of Leclerc, Sainz, and Piastri, all within less than 50 points separating them. Perez, not that much further behind, though, but definitely 6th place. Alonso, a little bit ahead of Hamilton. Stroll and Russell are level on points, and then the big drop-off with Ricardo picking up the best of the rest status. Tsunoda, so RB getting pretty clear in that 11th place for them, or 6th as a constructor. Albon and Ocon, the only other ones scoring points. Odekoven moves up 2 spots now and is ahead of Bottas. That is going to bump us. That should bump us to 10th in the constructors. That should move us up to 10th in the constructors. Venter is still 21st. Constructors, Red Bull, well ahead, but again, that's one driver performing and one driver not. So it's actually a lot closer competition, and with more points on offer in the constructors, there's still a small chance of them getting beat. And speaking of small chance, that chance is small mostly because McLaren and Ferrari can't decide who's best behind them, behind the Red Bull, behind Verstappen. They are level on points, 460 each. Then a big drop. Aston Martin just 10 ahead of Mercedes, and we have jumped ahead of Kick Sauber. That should be enough to get the confidence to normal. It's been a long time since we've had anyone in the top 10 for the fastest pit stops. 2.572 would have been what it took to get in there. We're still on the same 46 points we've had, and not really very close to it. couple average stops, longer than average, and one crazy slow. We had a problem with the jacks, and we lost a lot of time from it. I mean, that was an extra 4 seconds at least. Brun, who we're working on that new contract with, is now an 82 overall. We and a majority of the teams have voted in a $5 million reduction to the cap for next season. With our latest research project of the suspension complete, we're going to get right into the next one, still gaining 2.1% once again, and combined now we're about 3.5% ahead of where the suspension was. Everything else is going to lose 5%, however. Upgrade by upgrade by upgrade, we're gaining 5% or 7%. And so I'm just going to take the 5% hit on all of those at the end of the season and just do those upgrades one by one. Wow, the suspension is just incrementally gaining that small margin at a somewhat hefty cost of $1 million a pop every month. That's what we're making though, right? That positive balance, what a difference that makes. And she has accepted the deal, so we now have a pathway to get everybody signed on to long-term deals and not having to wait until you get into the last year of a deal. $443,000 is the cost to make this happen, but we suddenly have a 5-year deal for Brun. A quarter of the season to go, and Verstappen has already wrapped up the championship. Are you kidding me? He could go sit out the rest of the season. He doesn't even have to get in the car again, and he'll win the championship. That's crazy. It's Singapore. I opted to sit this race out, not do a live one, and wrap this episode up with getting the 3/4 point. Felt like a good milestone to have. I'm also a little bit low on time, very busy with some things, and we don't have to do a live race all the time, especially this first season as we're building up. We're not competing for points yet. It's okay. I will definitely get a live race in on our next episode, though. That being said, we had already moved up to 10th, but do we stay there? Do we continue the upward trajectory? This probably going to be a difficult race. 1, it's a driver's track. Singapore, very technical. 2, both cars on quite used components. Remember, for Winter, we have successfully done 6 race chunks. 6, 6, 6, and then one more chunk coming up for the final 6 races of the year for the components. With the ERS doing half and half, 12 and 12. So she is succeeding in that project, but that also means things were pretty used. And that's going to hold her back a little bit and slow her down a little bit. So expectations were pretty low for this race, but let's see how they did. Winter gets 14th, but I'm really worried about the lack of seeing anybody present here. I'm thinking we probably have a DNF, but there's Haas. There's Kick Sauber behind us. We're still ahead of 2 teams regardless. Alpine is behind us as well, so we beat 3 teams. Oedekoven does DNF, though, unfortunately. So, hey, we beat 3 teams. That's good. I don't think I checked the board to see, did we go up to medium confidence? Winter, 14th. That's not her best finish, is it? No, she's had 14th before. Still 21st. Oedekoven still 17th. And as a constructor, yes, we beat 4 teams today, but we're still 10th because nothing higher than exceeding what Haas has done. Oh, and we finally, first time in ages, get 10th in the fastest pit stop competition this time. Now 47 points on the season. In fact, we had 3 decent stops this time. One a 10th off of average, one average, and one a 10th better than average. So we had an average day from our pit crew. I'll take it. It looks like Oedekoven, it was a mid-race crash before you get into the last third of it anyway. Board confidence is back up to medium. The one thing that's hurting a little bit is that current position of 10th, but they are still satisfied on the race performance. But look at that. Look how that's suddenly flipping in our direction. It wasn't 4 out of 5 with satisfied or better. Now all of a sudden it's 6 out of 7 with a couple delighteds to go in there. I would think we're going to get a happy evaluation pretty soon. Especially next to come off the board is Montreal. If we were to get a ninth or better. If we're good, a happy or a delighted in that next race, replacing a disappointed, you would think at that point that would absolutely flip this from being satisfied to being happy. I don't think that's going to raise the board confidence anymore, however, but it looks like we are well on our way to keeping our job. Quarter of the season to go. A lot could change in that time, but we are on an upward trajectory. Finances have been hanging in there, 13.4 million. Let's see the damage on the car. For one, 2 failed components for Vinter, and 4. 1 missing rear wing, side pods on the floor, and suspension. All problematic here. So 6 components to replace will be costly, but we do have the money to do so. We also do have 25 days till Austin, a second summer break. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.